Maybe.
No.
Okay.
Megan Bain straight back up onto the shoulder and
down face first off of her shoulders. Megan hooks the leg.
face descent from Megan Bain.
Sapphire!
Wow.
How, Jetta?
Megan Bain hits the face descent. She has won championships with that maneuver. She has retained championships with that maneuver.
Around the world!
And now Megan Bain is now
Making stuff is good, isn't it? That's why they call them goods, because it's good to
wrapped up in my sleeping bag, looking out the window at Aaron's house as the sun is beginning to creep over the horizon. And the trees are silhouetted black against the emerging blue sky with the fading stars up in the sky. And I think to myself how much I hate Aaron because he's got it fucking made with this fantastic house of his, this nice little piece of property tucked away out in the backwoods of South Dakota. God, I fucking hate him. Hope he dies. Hope he dies of syphilis. You piece of shit.
This is going to be hands down the most dangerous video I've ever done in my approaching 15 years of asshole consulting. And because I care about my audience, and I don't want to get sued either for wrongful death or injury lawsuits, what I'm going to need you guys to do right now, we're going to do the honor system. You're going to pause it. You're going to go to assholeconsulting.com/Amazon. That's assholeconsulting.com/Amazon. That's my Amazon affiliate link. And buy yourselves some weapons grade, not industrial, not commercial, not industrial, weapons grade sitting down chairs. Because what I'm about to share with you is going to floor you. And I want you falling out of ladders or driving. Truck, sweet kisses from trucking. Alex, all of our truck drivers, you don't even listen to, wait till you get to the hotel. Wait till you're in your cab. And then you can watch it. I don't want you careening off the road because this is going to be so shocking. You're going to go into a coma. So go there. Go buy your sitting down. I prefer Bob's sitting down chairs, but Jerry's sitting down chairs are pretty good too. You just need an weapons grade. And then when you're comfy, you can listen to the rest of it, okay? All right, you can come back now. All right. Fox News. Divorce boom may follow use of Ozempic and other GLP-1 drugs. Experts warn. The experts! Oh, the experts! Unless that expert is James Sexton, I don't want to hear. I'm going to try and find who these experts are. The exploding popularity. Oh, you mean like Amy Schumer? Huh? Like that? The exploding popularity of GLP-1 receptor agonists like Ozempic and Wegovy is often hailed as a public health triumph, but one potential side effect may be flying under. Buddy, you know how many women I've seen get fake tits and lose their weight and they immediately dump their husband or their boyfriend? I don't want to. I've actually met a couple, but one in particular comes to mind. Vlad Elkins knows who we're talking about. The risk of divorce increases as weight drops, according to historical data from bariatric surgery patients. No kidding. Whose weight? Some experts believe that the same pattern could occur as more people take the jab and decide to call it quits on their marriages. No. Are you saying a lot of marriages are just together out of convenience and loneliness? And both are fat, lazy pigs who don't want to lose weight? And then all of a sudden it's like, but if I get hotter, either through working out more or surgery or whatever, somehow you lose weight, you drop the guy because you could get better. Now, are you saying there was an old man with a do-rag on his head who liked to do fishing and play guitars? Was it Slolo Omasi? Clolo Golasi? Wait, Rollo Tomasi said something about hypergamy 2 fucking decades ago. It's so sad that all it is if you're the best, like you are not her first choice. You are not. And if all she had to do was lose. Look, a couple of things to draw from this. One, you're not her first choice. Two, if she loses weight, she's kicking your ass to the curb no matter what the what the vows were. But three, how little interest women really have in finding a guy they really, if it requires work, meaning diet and exercise, they'd rather settle for fourth best than put the effort in. Guys, right here, the Book of Numbers, analyze the ROI in the pursuit of women. As time goes on, I think this is probably one of the most important books I've ever written, probably even more important than Worthless. They don't like you that much. It's a transactional market. It is. That's what it is. There's so little actual love. They so little care. There's so little forget love. There's so little acknowledgement that there are other human beings involved and that their happiness might be contingent upon you. Certainly you being attractive and fun and sexy. They don't give a fuck. They want to do the least amount of work possible. And instead putting in this is where I like, I can't pronounce her last name. Monica Alegwer, cute blonde gal. She gets it. Gia McCool, they get it. I want my husband to be happy. I will get the fuck in shape. No, it's not degrading. Yes, I am a sex object because I don't know how you have a physical act like sex not require object. It doesn't work in the laws of physics. I acknowledge my husband exists and I like him enough to make him happy. They are the exception, not the rule. The majority is just women wanting to have the stability and the commitment without putting in the least amount of effort possible. And I'm like, dude, that's the road to misery. Why would you put the least amount of effort in? I know because you're lazy. I know because you're worthless. I know because you don't give a shit about life. I know you just want to exist. You're the existers. You're not the excellers. You're the existers. But you're fucking miserable. Why wouldn't you want to, fine, I understand the laziness or the biological component, but don't you have the mental capacity or the philosophy within you say, yeah, and that life is going to suck. Maybe I ought to try really hard, especially for someone I claim to love. They don't like you guys that much. You're not her first choice. She will find another guy if she loses the weight. And it shows you how little she cares. How little they care about relationships and marriage in general. It is a fucking, not a chore or a job. It's not even a check mark, yeah, for her day. What would it be? It's like school. It's a to-do list. Like a lifetime to-do. Like, I need to get married so I'm not lonely. It is, I guess, a long-term chore. But it's not a fun activity, right? Am I naive thinking, hey, we should be in love and run around like two dogs having a great old time outside because our loners let us out? We should be engaging in sex in bad places. We should be enjoying activities together. We should just really enjoy. Like, am I wrong in that? Or is it, I'm a fat, lazy piece of shit and I want to put any effort, I want to put the least amount of effort I need to in order to get the secured attachment so I'm not lonely. Fuck. Some experts believe the same pattern, take the jab, call it quits on marriage. Per Arne Svensson, a professor at the Institute of Health and Care Sciences in Sweden, studies the link between weight loss and relationship status. I'm looking you up, asshole. You're worthless. We don't need you. We know what the relationship is. We don't need you to study. Oh, God. Wait. This is a different guy. This guy's a cinematographer. Different guy. Not this guy. Sorry, not you. Professor Gothenburg. Oh, it is the same guy. Really, buddy? Wait, you're a professor and you do that? Long-term studies of bariatric. Thank God. Hey, everybody, the Swedish taxpayer paid this guy to tell you that thin people leave their spouses more. Thin people fuck more. Thank you, Professor Fuck. If there ever was a Professor Fuckwitz, thank you, sir. You waste of fucking time. Here he is. I had no... Thank God we have a PhD studying this. The effect likely unfolds in several stages. Stages? Svensson told Fox News Digital, first, a substantial amount of weight must be lost. Honest to God, they got it down as stages, which typically occurs within the first year. Subsequently, changes in relationship dynamics may begin to emerge, followed by the legal process associated with divorce. Thank you, sir. I don't know what we would have never been able to figure that out. Do you know Professor Porter of the Porter's Five Forces? This observation aligns with previous studies that found patients who underwent bariatric surgery were twice as likely to get divorced compared to the general population. In addition to helping with diabetes control and weight loss management, GLP-1s have also been found to break unhealthy reward-seeking habits like drinking and smoking. Don't go outside to work out. Hey, buddy, you look like you aren't in any of that bariatric surgery. Do you go out walking? However, Svensson said the cause of these splits isn't necessarily change in a patient's temperament or brain chemistry. Instead, he points to the physiological and social shifts that accompany a new physique. You mean other people want to fuck him more? All of a sudden, Becky has more options at the office? Weight loss itself may increase the sense of autonomy or confidence, potentially empowering individuals to leave unhealthy relationships or relationships they're not unhealthy, it's just they get better dick. Do I need to translate this for everyone? I don't know what we do without Professor Fuckwitz to explain these complex social dynamics of people losing weight and ditching their fat spouses. Thank you, Fox News, for telling us about. I don't know what we do without you. Many patients report that the lifestyles change substantially after weight loss, often involving greater social engagement, increased attention from others, the doctor added. No. If a partner is unable to adapt to this more outgoing version of the spouse, the friction can cause rifts. And a 2013 study supports this relationship tension theory. Man, we need to cut all funding for the social sciences. All of you need to go and work real jobs. Get the fuck out of here. Finding that when one partner loses significant weight while the other remains the same, it could lead to feelings of insecurity and criticism for the partner who didn't change. Because they're equally lazy fat fucks. Currently, surgery leads to greater average weight loss, and its impact on relationships is therefore more likely to be pronounced. However, as newer, more effective medications are developed, we may soon see comparable levels of weight loss to those achieved with surgery. Svensson also noted the weight loss doesn't have to mean date loss. Among individuals who are single, the likelihood of forming a new relationship also increases substantially after weight loss. But I thought we don't need no. And fat black chick playing glass flute. And then Amy Schumer and all the other women saying big is beautiful. And fat pregnant guy on Calvin Klein ad model. Are we changing this? What happened now? While it may be somewhat discouraging to acknowledge the role of appearance in a partner selection, why are women so... I'm sorry, guys are aware of that. Guys are aware of that. Why are you girls so wedded to the lie that your looks don't matter? Why? And then you're discouraged to acknowledge fact? While it may be somewhat discouraging for some people, women, to acknowledge the role of appearance in partner selection, the truth... Well, maybe somewhat discouraging to women to acknowledge the truth. Did I clarify that? Did I translate well to normal person speak? Finding a new romantic partner is nevertheless one of the most significant events in a life's person. Let me know when we start on that. In fairness, men need to start on that too. Need to lose weight. To mitigate the risk of a split, Svensson suggests that couples take a collaborative approach to health. Or just don't get married and say, hey, if you ever get fat, I'm leaving you. By the way, I'm losing weight. If you don't lose weight, I'm leaving you. If one partner is pursuing wellness goals involving the spouse and healthy lifestyle changes such as diet and exercise can create a shared journey rather than one that pulls the couple apart, according to the expert. There may be clear advantages to partners taking weight loss treatment together, provided they both have a clinical need. Fox News, blah, blah, blah. There you go. There you go. I hope none of you are injured by that earth-shattering truth that's just been discovered. Oh, man. Prince Revolver, $2. The weight will come back. Yeah, you still have to keep taking the drug. Ukono, $2. Ozempic causes blindness as a side effect. Does it? Does Ozempic cause blindness? Potential link between is a rare serious condition, not a sudden permanent brain painless blindness. Those with diabetes or obesity. Now that's a risk. Yeah, it's not a thing. Something's going on. We miss Professor Fuckowitz. Hope you're doing well. He's there. Listen, understand. Professor Fuckowitz is a very important social scientist. He has his PhD in feelings. Okay, now and he's so smart. He's like a completely separate form of superhuman. He can't even associate with us vermin, and it is kind and charitable on the part of Professor Fuckwitz to even be in our chat room, let alone donate money and super chats to give us the truth and the answer we all seek. So I know you miss Professor Fuckwitz, but he is an incredibly important and busy person with his degree in sociology. He always hangs out with Jill Biden, the other doctorate fuckwit. Prince Revolver, 10 generous dollars. Cappy, look up Julie Neese. She explains once you become a boyfriend or husband, you're no longer a goal to acquire, you're of lesser importance. Well, that's true. Losing weight equals new goals. Julie Neese. I'm only looking her up to see if I would. Julie Neese. Nice. Julie Neese. When she was younger, yes. She is an older woman now, but I think she was probably a very attractive woman when she was younger. Wait, what was I supposed to look up? I'm looking up. Once you become a boyfriend or husband, you're no longer a goal to be acquired, or you're of lesser importance. Losing weight equals new goals. Yeah, no, I'm aware if a woman starts losing weight, rarely, if ever, is it about health. It's to find another guy. For anyone to lose, look, I had minimalism course. I know why people spend money, both men and women. It's an addiction. You all need to get over it. You need to spend less money and save more money. That's why I came up with my minimalism course. It's the same thing with weight. I know you all are just fucking weak cowards. Little pussies who are afraid of a little bit of pain. I know you have nothing else in your life but to eat and stuff your gullet. I know you are worthless fucking people. That you can't even do the thing to extend your life on this planet. I understand that's how weak everyone is. I know it's a really powerful force to just fill your stomach and your gullet full of food. I know. So if you actually are one of the exceptionally rare human beings that grows the fuck up and loses weight, it's for a very important, like, you're going to die, or you want dick, or you want the pussy. But I know everybody loves sloth. I know everybody. Everyone, what do you want? A loving, hot, fun sexual relationship, as I advocate in my essay. I don't want a threesome with Jesus for Christians. Or do you want that? Or do you want to put chicken tendies underneath your armpits and play video games? Everyone wants to play video games and put chicken tendies. Girls, do you want to have a great sex life? Or do you want to read about the happy milking cow farm and read about a great sex life with a fucking creature? All of you get the fuck out of here. Not you, not my audience. All you normal people who dare going to try and explain to me that being fat is beautiful. Get the fuck out of here. All right, that's it. Questions, answers, assholeconsulting.com. I will see you guys later. Toodles.
What it is, cuckolds? It's your boy the Hater. Another episode of Hater on the Road. That's right. And it's time for me to make one of my big announcements. Many things coming up soon, but first and foremost, it's WrestleMania season, as we all know, which also must mean it's Hatermania season, cucks. That means the Hater will be doing more videos from now until probably the Raw after WrestleMania, and then maybe we'll slow it down. But obviously, for the Hater, slow it down means a video a day at minimum, because the Hater is always working, you know what I'm saying? So with that being said, today's video to the side for a second, it's time for some requests, cucks. Show up with a request so the Hater doesn't run out of ideas as I try to do as many videos as I can in these next few days, you know? The Hater does it for the people, the Hater does it for himself, and the Hater does it for wrestling. So today's video, video one, because you might see another one later tonight, cucks. But today's video, this video, is about the complete influx and destruction of wrestling hierarchies that come as a result of having too many titles. Now, obviously, right? The fewer titles, the more prestigious the titles are. At the end of the day, any scenario where there's more than one of something makes that something less valuable, right? Even in the context of professional sports, like let's say boxing, you know, there's multiple boxing world champions because there's multiple boxing world championships and because there's multiple boxing weight classes. Now, obviously, historically, what's happened in these sports is that the lower level champions just get completely ignored. You know, one of the best UFC fighters of all time, a personal favorite of your boys, is Demetrius Johnson, right? But Demetrius Johnson was a small man. He is a small man. He's a great guy. I actually think his media career and his YouTube channel is going to be a much bigger success than his already successful UFC and MMA career. But nevertheless, Demetrius Johnson is one of these guys. He's like just an excellent fighter, you know what I mean? And he's entertaining to watch. But the problem is, he's a little guy. And nobody cares about little guys in combat sports because obviously the question we're all going to ask ourselves in the back of our mind is, who would win in a fight? Little guy or the other world champions? And if you were the littlest world champion, then obviously we all know that like Tom Aspinall or John Jones would murder Demetrius Johnson because they're like literally 2.5 times his size. So with that being said, I mean, for better or for worse, what happens is these titles and these championships get devalued, right? They get devalued. It's the same thing. In soccer, we have the Euro, we have the Copa America. These are like prestigious trophies, but nobody gives a shit compared to the World Cup, right? That is the end-all, be-all for soccer is the World Cup. Some argue it's the Champions League. I argue they're wrong. But the point is, right, the more titles you have, the more prestigious things you can accomplish, the less prestigious each one of those things becomes. And that's something that nobody talks about. Like, if you're the world heavyweight champion, right, there's a guy who might be light heavyweight champion. And that guy might be able to beat your ass, you know? You're just avoiding him or he's avoiding you, whatever the case may be, because you're in different weight classes. So automatically, it's like, well, you're not really the toughest guy, right? And the same thing can be said in the greater context, right? A lot of people might think, well, who would win in a fight? Usyk or Tom Aspinall? Like, I personally think it'd be Usyk. Some people think it'd be Aspinall, right? We're probably never going to know. And we're definitely never going to know who's going to win in a fight, right? But the point is, we don't know which one of them is the better combat athlete. And the idea is, because there's two of them, we can, we have two options. Either we decide that one's better than the other, or we just decide the mature thing, which is basically that we have to kind of recognize that, like, we're never going to know the actual answer, and we can like and enjoy both, right? Wrestling has the same problem. But the problem with wrestling is, number one, it's only one federation, like one company, right? We're talking about WWE here. But in general, like, each subset of champions has like a million different options available to them, right? So you can see this during the road to WrestleMania. Like, Sami Zayn, originally months ago, his goal was to be in the World Championship picture. His goal was obviously to be the world champion, right? Everyone's goal was to be the world champion or to be in that match, because everyone signed up for the Royal Rumble, right? But obviously, there can only be one, and that one was Roman Reigns. So what about the rest of the people? Well, now they have to make concessions. And in order to make the concessions appear not like concessions, Sami Zayn has to pretend that he's happy about being the United States champion, which basically he said he's unhappy with when he declared like 6-7 months ago, when he's like, I think I'm good enough to be world champion. Apparently not, cuck. Get in line, cuckold. So the point is, with all that being said, everything gets devalued. But the biggest form of devaluation, in my opinion, comes in the form of two examples or two situations. Number one, in the women's division, there's like the number of women who haven't been champion is way lower than the number of women who have been champion, right? If you count NXT, then it's basically zero. So you have like people like Mia Yim, right? Fucking Michin up in this bitch. Michin, for better or for worse, was, I think, women's United States champion. Maybe she wasn't. I don't know. I don't care, right? But the point is, let's say she's one of the ones that hasn't been champion, or BFAB, right? Those are like two of the biggest jobbers of all time. You know what I mean? Like, literally of all time. Like, I think a solid argument can be made that BFAB is the biggest jobber in the history of jobbers. So it doesn't really matter, like, if BFAB didn't become world champion, even though she might do it one day too. Everybody else has become world champion, and generally speaking, multiple time world champion. And if they're not world champion, they're either the tag team champion, or now we got like the fucking mid-card jobber titles. They can win those too, So it's one thing to have like, one champion, like it used to be back in the day where there was one women's title, and whoever was the champion was presented as the best woman in this company, right? And presumably was presented as the best female wrestler in the world. So like, when someone worthwhile won that title, like let's say Victoria, a personal favorite of mine, when Victoria won the title, she's someone that like could elevate that title, and her career could equally be elevated by it, right? But for example, if you look at what's happening today, right? You have Stephanie Vaquer. The fact that she's the Raw Women's Champion is completely meaningless. Nobody gives a shit, right? She's not world famous. Nobody cares about her. She hasn't become more interesting, more dynamic, or more presentable because of that, right? She's just the same boring ass Stephanie Vaquer. She's still the same person. Nothing has changed, right? She doesn't feel like a bigger deal because she's the champion. Same thing with the men's titles, unfortunately, right? The first issue, right? Because beyond the women's thing, that's like part one. Part two is the devaluation at the top. So the fact that there's two world champions, where there can only be one, right? Just even conceptually, how can two people be the world champion? Because the question that you have to ask immediately is, so which one's the champion and which one's the cuckold? Who is the champion? You can't have more than one champion. That's fucking retarded. So the fact that WWE does this is absurd. At the very least, with the World Tag Team titles, right? They say this is the Raw Tag Team Champion and this is the SmackDown Tag Team Champion, right? That's the idea. The idea is, well, like, of the teams in SmackDown, this is the best one, and they don't really compete with the teams on Raw, and vice versa. But what about the World Championship? They don't have the balls to call that one the SmackDown or Raw World title, right? They always come up with some goofy ass name. Obviously we got the WWE title, which is like the main title in this entire industry. And then we've got the other titles that come and go, the Universal title, the World Heavyweight title, right? And there have been times when the World Heavyweight title has been more important than the WWE title, right? Like when Batista had it, when Triple H had it on Raw, right? Every time it's been on Raw, basically, it's been more important. And sometimes when it's been on SmackDown, it's been more important, right? So that's just how it works, But the point is, by having all of these people have all these titles, this creates a, I'll call it a lack of focus, right? There's a lack of focus in what people want. Like, the way it should work is like this. If you didn't make the all-star team, or you didn't make the championship team, meaning that you didn't, if you're not in the Super Bowl, you failed this season. That's how it should be presented in wrestling too, right? Like Sami Zayn and Trick Williams should be presented as two guys who failed to accomplish their real goal, because that's exactly what happened. And as a result of that, these two guys should now be in some sort of grudge match, in some sort of story-driven match. Because the argument is, I can maybe get by, and I can get past the idea that for the world title, they don't need to hate each other, right? This is just a world title match. When Argentina and France played each other 4 years ago, or 3.5 years ago, I should say, right? When that happened, there's no hate. There's a rivalry, maybe, a very mild one, but there's no hate, right? Like, the fans create the hate just to make it more interesting for themselves, but, you know, I don't think Messi hates Mbappe, and maybe Mbappe hates Messi, because, like, you know, obviously, and I'm a Ronaldo guy, but let's call it like it is, motherfuckers. Messi fucking, like, bodied this entire game at this point, right? There's a little, for all the soccer fans, there's a thing where it's like Messi at 24, right? And it's like Messi winning the Ballon d'Or. Then it's like Mbappe at 24, and it shows Mbappe sitting down as Messi wins the Ballon d'Or again, you know? So, like, the point is, there's levels to this, right? But there's no hate. There's no hate. But, you know, that's for the world title, right? Otherwise, nobody wants to watch Cambodia versus Curacao, right? Nobody gives a shit about Cambodia versus Curacao because it's not going to be for the championship. If it's for the championship, then everyone's going to care. If it's not, then I need a reason, right? I need a reason. The reason might be like there's some sort of implication, like a qualifier, or some sort of hate, right? Like this country invaded this country, right? Which obviously is not what happened with Cambodia and Curacao. But maybe if it was like, I don't know, let's say it was like the US versus like Iran.
Landslide,
like, you know, like at that point, it'd be like, all right, like we invaded your ass, like we're attacking you. You know, it's fucked up. So there you have it. But the point is, if there's no hate, you need to manufacture the hate to sell me on this, right? Like personally, I have no interest in Trick Williams versus Sami Zayn because I don't feel the hate. The hate just feels like I want to be champion, but you're the champion, so I'm gonna beat you up, right? There's no actual hate. Trick Williams just doesn't like Sami Zayn. You know, that's not enough. You need a storyline, right? But because the US title exists, WWE can get lazy and say, well, they don't need a real story. They're fighting over the US title. Word? That's what it's about? You know what I'm saying? This didn't even start out like that. The US title was like implicated in it, you know, after Trick Williams was given a match and Sami Zayn was given nothing, and then Sami Zayn just like earned that match by becoming the champion, right? So the whole scenario here is just backwards, right? It's cattywampus. It's a little topsy-turvy, some might say. So by limiting the number of titles, right, you make everything more meaningful. So for example, even if like you have like a big match, let's say, right, you have like, I don't know, let's say Femi versus Brock Lesnar is one of the big matches. It's not necessary that the winner of that match gets a title shot. Like if it's Brock Lesnar, he's not getting shit, right? Because he's probably going to be gone for like 4 or 5 months. If it's Femi, he should get a title shot because he just beat Brock Lesnar. But it's also possible that he doesn't. It's also possible that he's gone for a couple of weeks, and before you know it, he's feuding with like fucking Solo Sikoa. You know? Like, that's a possibility, motherfuckers. It's a possibility. It's not guaranteed that winning this big match will put you in line for the world title. Because there's too many titles and too many other things to do. You know? But if there was a sort of hierarchy, like AEW tried to do this with their win-loss records, which obviously didn't work out because you have to keep track of all that shit, right? The idea behind that was very, very like, you know, basic, right? It was very, very basic and very, very good as an idea. It would never work, but it was an idea that was good because the idea was, if I chalk up some wins, you know, I deserve a shot, right? Just like in any other sport, you don't just become world champion by losing every game, then winning the world championship game if you didn't find your way to the world championship match. You know, this is how we make things matter, right? In sports and also in entertainment. But because there's too many titles, like it's perfectly reasonable for someone, like let's say Obafemi, let's take him as an example again, right? For a while, he was the North American champion, right? Like he had to like be happy with that. And that was his character basically was like, I am the most dominant North American champion. It's like, great, nobody cares. It's like saying I'm the best cruiserweight of all time. Like nobody gives a fuck. Go back to the beginning of this video and look at my little man, scenario, right? If you're a little man, nobody gives a shit about what you can and cannot do, right? You have to be the big dog. So to establish the big dog, you have to get rid of the little dogs. And if that means that there's no U.S. title and there's no Intercontinental title, right? Then that's fine. Maybe you need fewer wrestlers because you don't need, some of these wrestlers don't even wrestle. Like, you don't need Apollo Crews. Like what's he doing there? You know what I mean? What's Matt Cardona doing there? What's Ilya Dragunov doing there? Ilya Dragunov can go without wrestling for like 5 weeks and nobody notices. You know what's Gunther doing? You know, this guy's wrestled like 3 matches for the last like 7,000 years. So what I'm getting at here is this. You know, you can keep a mid-card title, right? Because that's a mid-card title. The idea is I'm the best of the non-champions, you know? And quite honestly, there should be a level of wrestler called the mid-carder who just like has no aspirations to become world champion, right? There's people that have made mid-card careers, you know what I mean? Like for example, Shelton Benjamin. He's a multiple-time mid-card champion. Kofi Kingston, multiple-time mid-card champion. Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, right? Like, yeah, some of them have had like a fucking shot at the top, but they never really were on top. Like, you know, even The Miz, like, he's never on top except for that first run. Ziggler was like never on top. Ziggler was always a mid-carder, an upper mid-carder at times, but usually just a mid-carder. So like, you need the Intercontinental title to give prestige to Dolph Ziggler, right? And you also needed to sometimes put forward that this mid-carder is special. Like giving them a very powerful run. Like Lashley got like a nice US run and that led to the world title, right? That's fine. But you do not need 2 world titles, you know? Everything will be much better if you have 1 world title. Like for example, CM Punk versus Roman Reigns, that could be for the world title, right? That could be for the world title, and Randy Orton versus Cookie Rhodes could just be a match. You know, it doesn't. The fact that the title's on the line has no bearing on this match whatsoever. This is only a personal grudge match, right? I mean, Orton's motivations are that he wants to become like 15-time champion, but you could easily do that by saying he wants to win this match, so he's next in line to become a 15-time world champion, right? He's willing to do whatever it takes, and Cody's just like his WrestleMania opponent. It's a big match. You could just call that the number 1 contenders match and then just like go from there. That actually would be more interesting, because then if that were the case, like imagine for example if there was 1 world title and you know CM Punk and Roman Reigns were in that world title match. If that were the case, then what we would be able to do is we would have like, let's say, Cookie Rhodes versus Randy Orton, turn that into a number 1 contender match, and then what happens is at the end of WrestleMania, you know exactly what's happening next. Like let's say Roman Reigns wins and Cookie wins. You're like, oh, finally we're getting Roman Reigns versus Cookie 3. You know, that would be something to look forward to now, right? You would know what's happening next. Like the death of number 1 contenders is just insane, but whatever, it is what it is. I digress. The point is, without all these bullshit titles, Sami Zayn and Trick Williams would either, which I think are both better alternatives, either they would need to have a better storyline going into WrestleMania, or they wouldn't even be at WrestleMania, which I think would be perfectly fine, because I don't think they're going to add much to WrestleMania. Like neither of them, I think, have the capacity to draw a fucking dime. So there you have it. But that's what I'm getting at here, you know? If we get rid of the titles, you know, then everything will mean more. Then the people will demand that the champion appears. And I know that's what they're doing. They're basically saying like, look, it's WrestleMania, right? WrestleMania, and even WrestleMania, you know, it's going to be a two-night endeavor, so you're going to get fucked anyways. But they basically say this when they present to you 2 world champions. They say like, ain't no way, motherfucks, that both champions are defending their titles on the same night. There's no way that's happening in any pay-per-view. That's unacceptable. You know what I mean? Because then the question is, oh, okay, I guess this night the champion that matters is this guy. The other guy that's home doesn't count. You know, so which is it, motherfucks? Which is it? If you delineate everything correctly and you make it so that, you know, SmackDown and Raw is Raw and the brand split can continue like that, that's fine. Otherwise, get rid of the brand split, cut the roster in half, and therefore cut the championships in half. Because that would be perfect. You could still have 2 nights of wrestling. Raw and SmackDown, same rosters. The same people just work twice as hard. You can even double their pay. I don't give a fuck, because you're saving a lot of money firing all the jobbers away, right? I mean, obviously not double their pay, because realistically, like, you know, you wouldn't get rid of like the top guys on Raw to keep SmackDown around, or vice versa. You'd get rid of like fucking Ilya Dragunov and Carmelo Hayes, and you'd keep Roman Reigns and CM Punk, right? Like, that's how it would go down. So what I'm getting at here is very simple, right? In order to like fundamentally improve the flow of wrestling, and with that everything else gets improved, if you're not going to be lazy, you know, the show will get better. And there's nothing lazier than being able to every month abstractly and arbitrarily just decide that, oh, you know, we have nothing to put on this card. Well, let's put in a US title match. You know what I mean? Like, which doesn't make any sense, but fine. You know, you can do that. And, you know, the argument is the US champion is wrestling at WrestleMania, but, you know, that shouldn't be a given. But it is. So, there you have it. Now, how do we fix it? Well, obviously, in my opinion, you have to start out by unifying the 2 world titles, and that's it. You never split them up again. Unless it's like some storyline reason, right? You just cut these motherfuckers off, and then you move on from there, and you do the same thing for everybody else. You can even do this at Night of Champions, right? Unification matches galore, motherfuckers. Everyone gets to be unified, you know? And that's it. Like, you've just done like a bomb-ass pay-per-view, where you've established who is the best in each category, and then you go like with that. If you want to do a brand split, I always thought that the most successful brand split was the first one they did, where each champion was drafted to a different show. So, for example, if you want to see the mid-card champion, that's going to be on Raw. If you want to see the cruiserweight champion, that's going to be on SmackDown, right? That's just how it was. Like SmackDown didn't have a mid-card champion. They had the cruiserweight champion. That was like their other champion, right? That was interesting. You know, the tag team titles were on Raw. Then they were on SmackDown, right? You would have incentives. Like if you're a tag team on SmackDown, right, at some random ass pay-per-view, you might have the opportunity to get like a title shot, or you might have the opportunity to like switch shows, or you might have any other number of opportunities that make it better for you as a wrestler, right? This made things interesting, right? Because like if your favorite tag team, let's say, was on SmackDown but the titles were on Raw, you had to deal with the fact that your favorite tag team wasn't going to be tag team champions in like anytime soon. But it was always in the back of your mind. You're like, well, one day the draft will happen and then things are going to get like shuffled around a little bit. Like that was a good way to break up tag teams. Like if you had a tag team on Raw and they're going to move to SmackDown, it would make sense logically and kayfabe wise, right? For someone to be like, well, you know, now that we're on SmackDown and there's no tag team titles here, well, I think it's time to break up the tag team. Like, what the fuck's the point? You know what I mean? What, are we gonna like wrestle together for no reason for a year and then hope to get drafted to Raw? You know, no, we're gonna just break this shit up, right? You still have reasons to do tag team matches, right? Like feuds and shit like that, but that's how you do it. So, I don't know. With that being said, just a few thoughts here about the world title situation and the title situation in general. So, that being said, take care of yourself and go fuck your own asses. Cucks these.
Presidente.
All right, so I'm gonna try something new. I'm gonna call it raw dog walks because we're going in without any editing. I've showed you guys before in the past. Sorry to call you guys, but it's just a shorthand. Everybody understands. It's easier. I showed you in the past how I throw away hours of footage. I just throw it away because when I first started doing this, right, I would. Do I have to go back to the very fucking beginning? I guess I do. First the dinosaurs came, but they got too big, so the Arabs used them for oil. Yeah, get away from me, Dan. Jesus Christ. What's up with my security system? Supposed to be better than he should have been on top of that a long time before I came that close. Anyway, let me reel this back together. I throw out hours of footage. When I first started, like I said, I would just turn the camera on and I'd walk and turn it off and I'd upload it. And it was good, I think. But then over the years, I got a little fancy. Started adding supporting text, memes, GIFs, unsavory peanut gallery people. And what I have ended up with is probably the most produced, unproduced truther show on YouTube. And yeah, I'm gonna take the truther tag. I fought against it for a long time, you know, just like I fought against being called white. I'm like, I'm Irish, I'm not white, leave me out of your bullshit. But then I saw the whites being attacked really bad, and I'm like, all right, I gotta stamp my brothers. Same thing with Christianity. I was like, I follow the teachings of Christ. I'm not a Christian though. And then I started seeing the Christians get attacked, and I was like, yeah, all right, I gotta be a Christian. I don't think truthers are being attacked, but like, what? You can't fight some things, you know what I mean? You got to go along with it. All right, so at the risk of this intro getting way too long, this stuff is I'm just gonna start putting out stuff that's unedited, basically, and I'm gonna mark it on the thumbnail so you know what it is. I'm gonna try this because like I'm just throwing this shit away. Hours and hours of footage get thrown away because I cobble together episodes with pieces. I do them in sections now. It's gotten so far out of hand with the overproduction on this fucking situation. It shouldn't be. But anyway, we're there and I'm stuck in that and I'm going to keep doing that. You know? But also, I feel like I'm wasting a lot of stuff. Now, is it like when your parents used to tell you, if you don't eat this, I'm just going to throw it away? Or for our non-white viewers, is it like when your mom used to tell you, if you don't eat this, I'm just going to throw it away. It's not an attractive proposition, but that's basically what I'm saying to you. If you don't watch this shit, I mean, this quality material, I was only going to throw it away. So we're going to try this. And I'm going to put this intro at the beginning of all these. So if you watch more than this one, you can just fast forward past this shit. Thank you and good afternoon. I'm gonna change the shirt. Jesus, no way that's too long. I just posted a video to my community tab, and it's definitely worth checking out. It's a woman that went over to Israel to talk to the people about how they felt about things, you know, with all the current stuff going on, and she was shocked to get the feedback from the people there because they're just fucking evil. You know, there's really no other word to describe it. She was surprised how genocidal they were, and racist they were, and fascist they were, and you know, she couldn't really find anyone that had a sympathetic ear, you know, or that was like, you know, not evil in wanting to kill people. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to watch. But like a lot of us knew that, you know. She doesn't know. She didn't know that, you know. And a lot of people don't know. You know, it's only been for me. Well, you know what? To be honest, it started after 9/11. Larry Silverstein got me thinking about things, and I also had heard very early on that Jewish people got a phone call to say not to go in, and at the time I had no idea that they were anything. And I was just like, why did they do that? They only told themselves, they only told their own people. It's kind of weird. I had no clue that they were involved in the actual event. I just thought like maybe one of the rich Jewish people found out and only told his own people, which I thought was kind of lame. You know, like, what the fuck's that? That's fucking lame. And then they kept coming up, and all this shit, and all these different things. Now the world of conspiracy was very much, it was on a track, you know. You could go places on the internet, and there were people that knew about this stuff, include you in. But mainstream kind of sources like Coast to Coast have talked about how I used to listen to that at XM radio. And every night that I was home, that I wasn't out doing something, you know, I'd just be listening to that. And they covered all kinds of conspiracy stuff, but they never mentioned them. It was always like the government, the government, the government. You know, it was never about anyone specific in the government or the control they have over the government. There was a little bit of talk of Freemasonry, you know, but it was always the Freemasons, the Masons. It's like wherever they are, they have like some kind of thing in front of them, you know, some kind of group that stands in front of them that you can talk about, point at, and look at, so that it protects them. You know, they have a layer of protection on everything. And so it took a while. It started, you know, after 9/11, a little thing with the Larry Silverstein thing. It's like he clearly knew something was going to happen because he took out specific insurance for it. I mean, the whole deal. The Port Authority in New York City that sold the stuff to him. It's a big, long thing. And I remember watching when he was on TV, and he was talking about, yeah, so we knew it was going to, speaking of Building 7, he said, we knew it was going to catch on fire and be a problem, so I just told him to pull it. He just says it like that. And I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? just pull it. Pull what? You know? Why is this place fucking closed? Hang on a second. But as you discover their treachery, you really can't talk to anybody about it. Especially at that time. Like, even like long after that time. Like, I remember being with a friend of mine, we're talking about the state of the world and stuff. I'm like, yeah, and you have to worry about the Jews too, because they're like, and he's like, the Jews? I'm like, yeah. He's like, they don't have any fucking power. They don't have any say in this. And I was just sitting there like, oh, wow, really? What year was this when we had this conversation? I'm thinking of where I was. We drive around in the car. Where was I living? Was I living in Lawrence at the time? I don't know. I'm going to say it was around 2012. Maybe even 2014 or something. So that's... And he wasn't like a outlier. Most people just had no idea. They didn't know the situation with those people. And it's only, I mean, really, it's only been in the last 5 years that people have been kind of getting hip to their situation and what their real deal is. And there's still plenty of people that don't know, you know. But, yeah, once you start pulling on that thread, it's just keeps coming, you know. You know, talk about some of these social media things like TikTok, the younger generation. They're really red pilling this shit. You know, freaks Israel out. Before the war started, BB was going around talking to podcasters because he realizes that this next generation aren't going to be good guys because they just don't care about the Holocaust. It's not interesting to them. Like, you know, with me, even bringing up the fucking name, the term, the event, saying the Holocaust, makes me a little nervous. Like, there's something goes off inside my system. Like, hey, be careful, you know. And you know, not even in like a YouTube sense, but just in a life sense. Like, that thing's been programmed into me. That it was a very specific, sacred event. Someone was talking about how the Holocaust survivors today, and you know, and you hear people talk about Holocaust survivors and stuff, and I'm like, how would all the World War II soldiers, right? And they'll tell us, and I don't know what the deal is, but it feels like every fucking other year, it's like the last World War II soldier died today. He did this and that. It's like, they cycle this into the news cycle every once in a while, where it's the last World War II. I've seen that 10 times. 10 times the last soldier died. And when they you know, bring these guys out at these events and stuff, they look like raisins. Look like white raisins. Because it's always white people for us. They do all this stuff. The white raisins in the little micro machines or wheelchairs. Meanwhile, we have all these Holocaust survivors. How old were these people when they were in the camps? Were they like 2 or 3? They'd still be old. Yeah, it's interesting. What gets a lot of people though is when they have the Google Translate thing, where they're able to actually hear what Hitler was saying when he was talking about it, you know, because growing up, you just see him yelling, you'd be like, wow, that evil dictator, man. He's like portrayed in our culture, in education, you know, where you learn about him like every year. You learn about him, you learn about the American Indians, some stuff about Columbus, and then next year it's just all the same stuff. Constantly the Holocaust, constantly the Indians, constantly you're bad, your people killed them, your people are terrible, you white people are horrible. I didn't realize that was happening though at the time, which is even worse because they're subliminally putting it in my head. So I would just start feeling that way from the inside, that my people are awful, without having it have to be even verbalized to me. It's insidious. And then you look at, well, who does the curriculum? Rothschild. He was the founder of like the modern school, modern education. All those books come from the same places. They tell the story from their point of view, right? So you're just fucked. You're fucked. You never had a shot. You know, the information age is the only thing that helped a lot of us, because prior to the internet, I don't even know how you get this knowledge. And the people that had it were considered really, really fucking crazy and were isolated. And you ended up in a fucking Unabomber type situation where you had to go out and live in the woods somewhere. You know, it was like that, you know. So, yeah, in my mind, and in most of my people like from my generation, Hitler was like the worst thing ever. He was worse than the devil, you know. But then you hear what he's saying, you know. Then you listen to with the translate, you know, and you hear what he's really yelling about. And a veil, like it's like a veil drops, and you're like, what? Holy shit. And then there comes a series of emotions. Surprise, confusion, anger, back to surprise, back to confusion, again arriving at anger, and you're just like, those motherfuckers, they lied about all this stuff. And then you start looking into all the other parts of it, and it's just as bad. Hold on a second. I always complain about how nothing's ever open here in Hawaii in the morning. You have to wait till almost fucking afternoon. Some places open. It's even worse on Sunday. On Sunday, it's ridiculous. Like it's what, 7:45 now, and there's only like one place you can go that's open where you could get like coffee or something. Unless you go to like one of these places, like an international marketplace, like a cafe type, like a Starbucks type place. But to get just like regular coffee that's not $100, you have one place. You know, the regular place I always go to, that I walk through the jungle to, that's closed. Yeah, like it's egregious as the hours are to begin with. On Sunday, it's like it's even worse. It's even worse. I think the sun just makes you lazy. The heat and the sun just makes you lazy. So when you grow up that way, and I'm coming from the northeastern part of the United States, where everything is fast, everything is move. You know what I mean? There's no sitting around. You know, so it's a whole different vibe. And then you come here, and it's like, you know, sitting in front of the convenience store at noontime. Are you guys open? Wait, have patience. Wait a minute. All right. Most of the stores they're closed more than they are open. This is how it is. It's not, you know, whatever. It's a different lifestyle. It's a different speed of shit. But yeah, the Jewish thing is insane. And people are, every day they get more and more awakened to what's happening. And how they just have their fingers in everything. And how much control they have. And that's why you never hear about this stuff, because, I mean, where are you going to hear about it? There's not one informational blind spot that they have. They get everything covered, from the media to schools to any institution of learning, libraries, just name it. They got everything covered. I don't think they're that clever, though. They have that fake IQ where they say their country has this kind of IQ IQ score. Leather apron channel on the YouTube. He broke it all down and exposed that whole thing. It's completely made up. And they started with some data from kindergartners, from kids in kindergarten that they have over there. And they extrapolated the data, messed with it, fudged it, lied, basically. That's what they do, though. Because in their religion, it's permissible to deceive anyone outside your religion. You know, meaning everyone that's not from their clan. You know, they're allowed to deceive. And that's just how it is. Hold on a second, let me get in here. It's celebrated, you know, it's allowed, not only is it allowed, but it's celebrated. They call it having chutzpah. You're a mensch if you can beat the goyim, because to them we are animals, you know. And once Satan returns, oh yeah, they worship Satan too. That's another thing. There's a whole lot to it, man. When Satan returns, they get 20,000 of us each as slaves. So yeah, that should be fun when that happens. All right, I'm home. Till that happens, don't blame the teacher, blame the school.
Everyone I know, including myself, is addicted to caffeine. Like, this is something that I think, like, nobody talks about at all, is, like, caffeine addiction, how widespread it is. Like, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was
like pulling into a gas station to get like a Red Bull at 6 a.m. because I was going to go on a hike. And I just needed some energy or whatever. I didn't want to go get coffee. I didn't want to make it in my house or anything. But I can't remember the last time that I personally didn't go a day without consuming caffeine. And I think when I started drinking caffeine was my first job out of school. I worked in taxes and I was doing taxes 12 hours a day. And during that time, like, doing taxes is so monotonous and boring that you literally can't do anything other than try to like get, sounds weird, but you try to get like high or stimmed up in some capacity in order to crank out more returns. So I used to do things like, I used to be a 6 cup a day drinker, or equivalent of that. And these were like dirty cups. These are like, so the old guys at the firm used to like take grounds of coffee and then, you know, make them like the old fashioned like coffee filter, put it in a pot, whatever. And they would make like the absolute most dirt cowboy coffee you could possibly imagine. Just way too many grounds, not enough water. And you'd sip in, you'd start like skizzing out randomly. It was kind of nuts. So that's kind of how my personal addiction started. But I know people, and like tons of people, like growing up in high school, were bringing monsters to class and drinking energy drinks. And it's just crazy. Like, we've all been like had by caffeine. Like, everyone is a caffeine head. Even people that have like religious aversions to it. For example, the Mormons in the area I live in Idaho, by the way. So the Mormons here, like, they supposedly can't have caffeine, but like every single one of them, if like there's not another woman around, they're drinking a Starbucks, they're drinking a Coke, they're drinking a Diet Coke with a small amount of caffeine in it. And like, I don't really know like what the solution would really be, because like, I don't know, like, I guess like just like stop drinking caffeine, like obviously, or just stop drinking caffeine. But it kind of just made me think that today, like how pervasive caffeine is, and maybe I'm gonna try and stop drinking so much caffeine. I've kind of cut down like quite a bit. I went from like 6 cups to like 2 cups. But yeah, we talk about like cigarette, like nicotine addiction, like with Zins and everything, and like how that's becoming more and more widespread. Obviously, alcohol addiction's a big one for a lot of people, and luckily that's going down pretty significantly. I think I've seen tons of like, I guess, doom posting, if you want to call it that, by like Budweiser and Coors and all that like Gen Z isn't drinking as much alcohol, which, to be fair, alcohol is like probably one of the worst like drugs. It's crappy, it makes you feel crappy, and like also it doesn't really do anything. It also makes you fat. And life's too short to go through it being fat, I guess. And that's no offense if you are fat, I'm just saying. And then weed, obviously, like Gen Z pretty much went from alcohol to weed, and all my friends I know smoked weed for years and years and years. Some of them stopped, a lot of them haven't still, but yeah, it's just something that the younger generation deals with for sure. But every single one of them drinks caffeine. Like, I drink caffeine. The first thing I do when I wake up is I stumble into my kitchen, I plug that Mr. Coffee in, or actually I have a Keurig. I plug my Keurig in, and then I just pop in a Keurig cup, set to brew, pour myself a 10-ounce glass of coffee, drink about maybe half of it, and then I just pour the rest out. But yeah, that just kind of got me thinking, like, about how we're all just addicted to caffeine, and we're all just trading one addiction for another, which I guess that's like kind of another thing too, is like, I think us as humans are always going to be addicted to some sort of like stimuli of some sort, right? Like, no one's going to go through life completely sober except for like monks in like Mount Athos or something like that, which hats off to them. Maybe not, actually, never mind. They are addicted to something. They're high on Jesus. So I guess if you have nothing else in your life, and I don't mean like that. I guess if you're just pure and you have no other addictions, you're going to be addicted to Jesus Christ. And that's probably the best addiction you can have, I think, or something like that. Spiritual addiction. How about that? Probably said that wrong. I don't know. Lord, if you're listening, I don't mean anything by that. And if you're not religious, I don't mean anything by that either. Anyways, for unemployment today, so today's the, 12th day. Yeah, 12th day unemployed. So coming up on 2 weeks. Not a whole lot of movement. I'm still going to try to make these updates daily. Been applying for jobs on LinkedIn because that's just the most successful place to apply for jobs. Been kind of digging around company websites. I found a good trick